Nebraska congressman is thanking President Trump for his administration's efforts in dropping the criminal case against him. You'll remember right here, Jeff Fortenberry was charged with lying to the FBI about a foreign billionaire's illegal $30,000 contribution to his campaign. In a statement today, Fortenberry said, quote, "President Trump knows better than anyone what false accusations and political persecutions mean. The American people gave President Trump a mandate to end witch hunts like these and restore confidence in our justice system. He has kept his promises to America in the very first days of his presidency, and we are so grateful."